Good morning, Hop Nation. Your commissioner coming at you. It is Sunday morning. We are in the middle of the Hop playoffs, and I said I was going to try to do a video for y'all as we head into the semifinals, or actually they're underway because we had a Thursday game. So let me hit you with some. I'm not going to dive too deep into the results, but let's take a look at where we are at this point. I want to start in the non-playoff challenge, okay? Because actually today is the finals of the non-playoff challenge. So let's take a look at what happened in week one. We had Eddie Hop's block chopped taking on the Polish Powers, and he actually won that matchup fairly handily by just about 30 points. Taking on the winner of the Chosen Ones and the Scooters Boys. Scooters Boys pulled out a fairly close victory with a 16-point win. So Scooters Boys and Hops Block Chopped, that's Rick and Eddie, they will face each other today in the non-playoff challenge finale. So and also Chris and Errol will play each other for places 3 and 4. So just to sort of recap what that all means. The winner of the matchup today between Eddie and Rick will have their choice of draft position next year. And then the loser of that matchup has second priority to choose where they want to draft. And then the winner of Chris and Errol's matchup gets third priority, and the loser of that matchup gets fourth priority. So what will happen is, and then they don't have to make those decisions now, but as the draft approaches next year, I will approach those 4 individuals in that order to choose what position they would like to draft from. Okay? So good luck to both teams today, and we'll see what happens. So far, Eddie is up 19-9, 19.8 to 9, and Chris went out to a huge lead. Currently has 71 points in the bank on Errol. So we'll see how those matchups come out. But today is the finale for that. So the winner between Eddie and Rick, as I said, is going to have the opportunity to choose where they would like to draft next season. I don't know about you guys. To me, that's a fairly nice nugget to have, because it allows you to prepare as early as you want to, because you know where you'll be drafting. So, all right, moving on. Let's go to the big show here, the big show. So in week one of the Hop championship playoff run, just a reminder, you had myself and Matt were on a bye week. Thank goodness for that, because my team would not have played well in the first week. I didn't take a look at Matt's, but so playing in the first round was Morrow taking on Craig. That's Morrow's Vikings taking on the Southpaw, and this was a shootout. You know, as Morrow mentioned during some text messages that were going back and forth, Morrow put up just under 180 points and still lost. Craig came out with a huge 224-point day to win that first round of the playoffs, which is fantastic. And what does he get for winning that? He gets Matt this week, our chop, the number 1 overall seed in the league this year. So more on that matchup in just a minute. The other first round matchup was the Brooklyn Baller, that's Other MC, taking on taking on the Polar Bears, Rick Penner. And that one, Other MC won 192 to 150. So we had about a 40-point victory. Other MC takes on this MC in a matchup that is already going on. So let's dive a little deeper into these matchups. Let me start with Craig and Matt. So first of all, I'm recording this on Sunday morning, so there's already been the Thursday night game, and there was some action in this Thursday night game. So we had Matt currently has a 41.1 to 22.2 lead. All right, and nice night from JSN. for Matt, 23.6. And the funny thing is a majority of that game he had done nothing. So just goes to show that, and in that matchup, the Seahawks and the Rams, 38-37. What a game, by the way. But JSN ended up putting up over 23 points for Matt very late in the game, which was nice for him. Kyron Williams continues to be somewhat disappointing as he has a true time split with Blake Corum and ended up with only 11.5 points on the night. Oh, I should also mention not only the Thursday night games, we also had the Saturday games. So yes, and Matt had Eagles head coach in a victory over Washington. So when you add it all up so far, he comes into the Sunday slate 41 points in the bank. Now, the rest of the matchup, he's got Justin Herbert going against Dallas. You know, it's funny, Herbert has had times this season where he looked like, a top 5 quarterback, and then others where he hasn't. It'll be interesting to see what he does versus Dallas. And then you had Ashton Genty, who's been very up and down this year, taking on a really, really tough Houston team. Not overly confident about that matchup. And then you have Olave taking on the Jets. Olave seems to, on a bad team, always seems to get his points. And then you have Kyle Pitts, who comes off a career game last week. What's interesting about this matchup is it looks like, hand to God, Drake London's coming back this week. I don't know why, but it looks like he's coming back. If that happens, that probably is hurts Pitts a little bit. But I venture to say he's probably going to end up somewhere between what he was and what he was last week, which should be still pretty decent production, if only because they're playing the Cardinals this week. And then you have in the flex spots, you have Chuba Hubbard and Quinshon Judkins taking on Tampa Bay and Buffalo, respectively. Chuba's in a little bit of a timeshare there as well, but we'll see what happens. Broncos taking on Jacksonville. Two really good teams. Should be interesting to see what happens there. And then his kicker. So that's where Matt stands currently. Now, Craig on the other side. So far, Devonta Smith with 16.2 points and a relatively disappointing 6 points from the defense, the Philly defense versus Washington. So currently 22 points in the bank. Here's what else he has going this week. Josh Allen. Interesting though, Josh Allen's taking on Cleveland. I'm very curious to see what happens there. Now, Cleveland defense hasn't been as dominant recently, but they're still a damn good defense. So Josh Allen has been a little Jekyll and Hyde, although when he's been good, he's been fantastic and can win any matchup. So I'll be curious to see what happens there. Javonte Williams and Bucky Irving at the running back. Bucky certainly looks healthy, taking on a less than scary Carolina defense. And then you have Javonte Williams taking on the Chargers. Javonte, man, he's been steady all year long. He just has. Then you have Nico Collins taking on Vegas. Probably a good day for Nico versus a bad Vegas team. And then you have McBride at the tight end. For my money, best tight end in football. Again, that should be a high-scoring game. So we'll see what happens there. In the flex, you have a couple of Pittsburgh running backs. Very interesting decision here, if in fact it stays. Going with both Pittsburgh running backs. The thinking here is that they're taking on Detroit, which should be maybe a high-scoring game. We'll see. So I'm thinking that might be the case. Anyway, when you add it all up, right now, despite the fact that Matt has the lead, if you want to look at ESPN projections, Craig is projected in a close matchup. And you know what? Theoretically, the matchup should be close at this time. You have a bunch of good teams presumably playing well. So you have Craig with a slight projection advantage, 159 to 155 over Matt. But it's anyone's ball game. And, I'm sure there's going to be some heartbreak before the day is out. So there you have it. And the winner of this matchup will play for the Hop Championship next week. Good luck, boys. All right, moving on. We have Battle of the MCs. Now, first of all, and I mean, listen, I've always said, I don't always make the right lineup decisions, but I can certainly support all the decisions that I made. But if you look at my bench right now, it sure as hell looks like I do not want to win this matchup because I have 4 running backs, 3 of which scored 12, 13, and almost 14, and one that scored 36, and they're all on my bench. So it looks like I don't want to win. And then if you look at other MC's side, he has 2 receivers, one that scored 21, one that scored 19 on his bench. So, like, you got a couple of teams right here that have played some incorrect players. Again, I can support my decisions personally because, well, we're not going to get into that now, but I had to make certain lineup decisions. Also, the timing of games and the injuries that I had were all very challenging as well. But anyway, let's take a look at where we're at. So currently, I hold a 13-6 lead. 13-6. On my side, I did run out there Terry McLaurin. Wish I would have made a different decision, but again, it was what made the most sense at the time. Terry scored 8.3 points. Had 1 or 2 nice catches in the beginning of the game, and then unfortunately things went downhill from there. And I'll tell you what could be very interesting. Every year I talk about the importance of the head coaches. I had Seahawks coach here, and they played the Rams and should not have won that game, and did. That is an 8-point swing. And if this matchup is close, that 8-point swing, if I were fortunate enough to come out on top, that 8-point swing could make all the difference in the world. So that bears watching. But anyway, so yeah, 13 points right now with a full slate of games today. On other MC's side, he had Jaden Reed last night, who did nothing most of the game, ended up with 7 points on the game due to one long catch, I guess, in overtime. But ironically, the overtime actually helped me because he had Packers defense. Chicago put up a touchdown in overtime and gave his defense a -1 on the night. So the net gain was a good one for the Goodfellas. So he currently sits in there with 6 points, slight lead. Okay, so let's take a look at what else is going on. On other MC side, again, it's the Detroit Lions party. Will the Lions come out and blow the doors off of Pittsburgh? If so, I have no chance. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Lions head coach. So we have all those Lions coming out to play today versus Pittsburgh in the 4 o'clock slate. So that's going to be tense moments for me. Then you have Aaron Jones taking on the Giants. Aaron Jones has been playing better, and the Giants are certainly not an imposing defense. You have Dawson Knox at the tight end. A little bit of bad news for other MC that Kincaid is active. That being said, Kincaid and Knox, the 2 tight ends in Buffalo, they can both eat in that matchup. But again, it is against a tough Cleveland defense. So we'll see what happens in that one. And then currently he has Wan'Dale Robinson in at the receiver. Last time I played other MC, Wan'Dale put up like an obscene amount of points. Can he do it again? Minnesota's not a scary defense. Maybe he can. And then I'll make mention, I don't usually mention the kickers, but Brandon Aubrey, Mr. Automatic. If the guy doesn't put up 7, 50-pointers, I'll have a shot. So that's on his side. Now on my side, my lineup has gone through 140 changes in the last week because I have had to juggle whether or not Drake London was going to play, T. Higgins was going to play, and I truly thought I was going to have neither one. Now, as of the time I'm recording this, it looks like both are going to play. That is a huge lift. And so I had to make some really difficult decisions because of the early games. I rolled the dice. It was going to be real troubling if those guys didn't play. But I rolled the dice. Looks like, at least as of now, it's going to work in my favor in terms of them being available. That also affected my quarterback decision. I was not going to play Joe Burrow today. But since it looks like T. Higgins is going to be a full go, I am going to play Joe Burrow. So Burrow versus Miami. Burrow looking to bounce back after a horrendous game last week, and that's what I'm banking on, quite frankly, that he wants to come back and bounce back. Potentially, and isn't it funny that my season could come down to this, because all of other MC's matchups will be done. All of mine will be done at the end of today, except for one, and the one is Mr. CMC on Monday night. Thank God. So we'll see. Maybe he's the guy that puts me over the top. We'll see. I opted to go Tyrone Tracy after benching 4 running backs who all produced. But Tracy has had a real nice stretch of games, catching a lot of balls out of the backfield, playing Minnesota. That was the feasible move for me instead of playing some of these other guys who had questionable situations, even though they did well. Hopefully Tracy will as well. T-Mac, Teteroa McMillan are injured early this week, but is fully healthy now, taking on a pass funnel Tampa defense. I'm hoping it's a high-scoring game. We'll see. I'm benching Mr. Kelsey today with no Mahomes. I have no idea how he'll do with the backup quarterback, Minshew, I think it is. But I'm going to roll out Fannin. Fannin has been getting 15 targets a game, it seems like, taking on a really tough Buffalo defense. But I'm going to roll the dice with Fannin at this stage. And then in the flex, my 2 potentially saving graces. Drake London coming back after being out the last several weeks. T. Higgins. Have no idea why either of these players are in right now. Both teams are eliminated. Both guys could potentially be injury risks. And I could put them in and have them both be out after the first play. So I'm the epitome of boom or bust today. I am going with the Saints defense. I thought I was going to ride the Bucs all the way through the playoffs, but I think the Saints versus the Jets is the better play here. So I scooped them up before free agency closed. And then, of course, I talked about my coach, and I have Dicker the kicker, hopefully to neutralize Aubrey. So when you put it all together, where we're at is based off of ESPN projections. I am currently projected as a 10-point favorite. I don't feel that way. I'm very, very nervous about this. And I have a lot of question marks. So we're just going to have to see what happens. But the winner of this matchup will go for the Hop Championship next week. If other MC wins, it'll be his first attempt at a championship. And then, of course, we have Craig and Matt, who are both previous winners. So we'll see. Should be interesting. Could be a matchup of brothers. That's a possibility as well. And, I look forward to a fun day of football. So I want to say good luck to everybody. Good luck to Eddie and Rick as well in your matchup for the non-playoff championship. And let's see what happens today. So that's all I got. Sorry about the lateness of the preview, but needed to squeeze a few minutes in to do it. So on that note, good luck, everyone, and catch you on the other side. Commish out.